this morning. Got yourself a gun.
I love this song. Welcome to the family with
Packmaster Ralph Tory Basham, MD.
Co-host Catherine Brandt.
And Andy Brandt Bernard.
We'll be right back. Tim Lammers. We got Kristen Bird. We got Paul Anka. We got lots of people. We'll be back with the family. Michael Bryant, Bradshaw and Bryant. What's the latest?
We're just trying to represent people who've been injured through no fault of their own. We're trying to talk to them before they talk to an adjuster or before they take a settlement that isn't something they should get based upon their injuries.
How many people are out there in different, not in the law business, that love to run around scaring people before you even get to them?
Well, adjusters want to settle cases and they want to close files. So based upon that, they do what they have to. I think there's a lot of circumstances where they probably act as attorneys where they're not attorneys and they try to explain people's rights, or they give them a certain view that if they look at it, and what I always say is this, if the adjuster really truly thinks the offer they made makes sense, they'd have them come see us, you know.
And that's exactly my question is, you have to understand who has your best interest in mind, correct?
Well, you want to know what your rights are. You know, whether or not you decide you're going to hire us or not, that's a choice. It's a free consultation, and you want to understand what all your rights are and what coverages you have.
And plus the fact I hang out with you, so you got to be a good guy if I'm hanging out with you.
Maybe.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Bryant, Bradshaw, and Bryant.
Tommy, how long have you been at KQ?
36 years now.
Wow, that's loyalty.
Well, if I'm completely honest, it isn't the company that I'm loyal to, it's the listeners. I figured out a long time ago they're the only reason I have a job. Why are you asking?
Well, we had another great month at Coon Rapids Nissan and Burnsville Nissan. In fact, Burnsville continues to be the #1 Nissan store in Minnesota.
The loyalty part. Get to the loyalty part.
Oh, yeah. This month, if you buy or lease a new Rogue or a Pathfinder from us, we'll give you an extra $500 off as long as you own or are leasing a Nissan.
That is cool. Do they have to trade it?
Nope. It's just a reward for being loyal. By the way, the new Pathfinder's fantastic. It's got a 9-speed transmission, and JLo says it'll practically pull the building. We also cut a deal with our good buddy Charlie Swenson, who's running a Nissan store in Chicago. He gave us some extra Rogues.
Because Charlie's such a nice guy?
Well, Paul might have threatened him.
Sounds like Paul.
For details, go to Walzer Nissan or Coon Rapids Nissan and claim your loyalty gift. Tommy, give him some Elvis loyalty.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There are definitely things to avoid during a Minnesota winter, like licking a flagpole or waiting too long to replace that car battery. But #1 on the list is taking a chance on your furnace. Hey, Tom here for Sabre Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, reminding you that a furnace clean and tune will improve efficiency, reliability, and peace of mind. Or maybe it's time to take advantage of Sabre's rebates and upgrade to an energy-efficient Bryant system. Don't take chances on your comfort. Visit saberheating.com. Sabre and Bryant. Whatever it takes. We are back. Alex is in.
I'm here. Sorry.
She's in the studio.
I've been on a child dance shoe extravaganza this morning. Trying to find pre-owned child dance shoes is not.
Arch, we are ready for Paul.
Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, Making Memories, which features the #1 duet of Put Your Head on My Shoulder with Olivia Newton-John, My Way with Michael Bublé, Andrea Bocelli, and You Are My Destiny with Il Divo. They also just announced his 22-city North American concert tour. Well, we're going to have to get the schedule because he better be coming here is all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Paul Anka, how are you,
Hey there.
sir?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Good to talk to you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, God, it's an honor to have you on, Paul. We're not worthy, let me put it that way.
Well, we don't look at life that way. I've lived saying there's no one beneath me. I've had a great team, a lot of people around me, and a pleasure, and I've been coming to your hood for years and years, and I think I might be in the area because the tour is two-pronged. It'll be in October, November, and then next year also, which takes us into the spring.
I think it'll be terrific. Mr. Anka, I got to ask you a question.
Thank you.
I can't look back. I can't remember when it was. I think it was on The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
Might have been a year or two ago, if you know what I'm saying, or maybe a decade or two. But you were telling a story, and I was just fascinated. And I can't remember who it was, but I believe it was some of the nice Catholic kids in the neighborhood, maybe Italians, which is why,
Yeah.
They used to call you Palanca, which I thought, you remember telling that?
Oh, I tell you what that is. Back in the 50s when, pop music was in its inception, traveled around the world, and I really loved, going to these foreign countries. Well, in the 60s, when I finished my contract at ABC, RCA Victor, who I joined with Presley and all those guys over there, they said, we've got this big new record studio in Italy. I said, wow, I want to go to Italy again. And I went over and I started recording in Italian, and we got real lucky, and we sold millions of records, and it was like my song Ogni Volta was like the first #1 million seller in Italy. But you're talking language like France to Spain to Germany, and in Italy my name was like one name. Like I'd go to a hotel, they'd say, Mr. Polanca. Polanca. So that's all. That was it from the 60s on. So every time I run into an Italian from Italy, even in my concerts, Polanca. That's where that came from. That's very true, yes.
Paul, I'm telling you, Scott, I will never forget you telling that story. I thought it was just hilarious because, like I said, I grew up a nice Catholic boy. Well, I don't know about a nice Catholic boy, but I grew up in the culture, so it meant a lot to me. Man, it was a great story, no question.
Well, thank you. As an altar boy, I had no vision that I'd be called Polanca 6 years later when I got the record.
It's true. His new album, Making Memories, features the #1 duet of Put Your Head on My Shoulder with Olivia Newton-John, My Way with Michael Bublé and Andre Bocelli, You Are My Destiny with Il Divo. Just announced his 22-city North American concert tour. We got the schedule, and I will check that. It also coincides with Paul's, what does this say, your 30th birthday? Is that what it says, Paul?
Yeah, there was a misprint. It's not 80th birthday, it's 30. Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And if you don't mind, spend a little time talking about, because what is the deal with TikTok? You're huge on TikTok.
I have no idea. Years ago, through I only looked at my career in 5-year increments. Who knew what all this stuff was happening? But I had no idea what it was. I found out through some kids in the neighborhood who came to the front door and started singing, put their on my shoulder, and I'm going, okay, what's up? They said, TikTok, it's on TikTok. Everybody said, well, what's TikTok? I had no idea. Well, obviously I got educated real quick.
Sure.
And now you've got, 100 million downloads on this thing in the doorway, the silhouette. You just have to be grateful, frankly, because, I don't live in the past, and, a lot of people that come up to me and talk about, the music today, and we don't like this. I go, stop. You're talking to the wrong guy here. Anything that's happening today, you got to look at it and understand it's here, and whatever the demographic is that wraps their arms around it, it's real, and you just got to get it, okay, and not criticize or be judgmental. And it's this, like you guys on your podcast. My son-in-law, Jason Bateman, just made a big deal for his podcast, and I'm going on his and Rogan, and who knew of podcasts years ago, right?
No, you're right.
And it's here, and it's real, and people eclectically live their lives and pick what they want that's relevant, that has substance. So the whole TikTok thing, great. Do what you want with it, you guys. You can undress, you can run down the street, you can whatever it is. I get it, and I like it, and thank you, everybody,
No, that is a wonderful thing. One thing I have to tell you, years ago, again, I was, let's see, you're 30, so at the time I must have been 20, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, at least.
So, at least. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. But I would watch you on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson or the Joey Bishop Show or whatever it was. And I was as impressed the way you comported yourself. You didn't come across as a guy who thought he was a big... I mean, you wrote the theme song for the Tonight Show, did you not?
Yes, sir, I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
That's a whole other story, It's, my business, it starts with a phone call,
Yeah.
In this instance, I was doing a TV special, and I felt it needed some comedy relief. Just sit and look at me for 2 hours on television. So I said, send me some kinescopes. Back then, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I looked at one film, and there's this guy, Johnny Carson, and the whole concept was he drank all night till about 4 or 5 in the morning. Then he went and did a kiddie show 2 hours later.
Oh, God.
It was really hilarious, because you can imagine. So anyway, long story short, I hired him and we met, and I met him in New York, I think a few months later, and said, "Hey, John, what are you up to?" He said, "Well, I'm going to do this TV show. It's, I don't know, Tonight Show. I may do it for a year." I went, who knew, right?
Right.
And he said, "I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that." And he said, "I'm looking for a theme song." And I said, "Great." So I went in the studio and I did a quick demo. It cost me about $400 or $500. And I sent it to him. And he said, "God, I love it. I love it." He said, "Let me get back to you." So he called me back and he said, "You know what? I can't do it. I can't use it." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, this guy, Skitch Henderson, that's the band leader, he's been there for a while, and he doesn't want some kid cutting in on his action." And I go, "John," I said, "that's terrible news." I said, "Well, you think about it. But by the way, John, I'll give you half of all the royalties."
Oh!
That was the catch that nobody knows. So I gave him half of the song because I figured if he's on a year, I mean, I'd rather have something. So he called the next day again and said, "You got it, you're on." Well, did we know he'd be on, what, 39 years?
39
So yes,
years.
the answer is da-da-da-da. Yeah.
And this one little ditty called My Way. Gee, I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, that was another story. That was, I was the youngest kid in Vegas, and all those guys were twice my age. And, Bobby Darin and myself and Frankie Avalon,
Sure.
we little teenagers doing this stuff. And we looked up, it only went as far as the Rat Pack in Vegas. There was no Beatles yet, and there was no Hendrix that changed it. And it was all about Sinatra, and so I got lucky and I started working with these guys, and you learned a lot, as you can imagine. And he'd always teased me, through the years about writing for him. Well, of course, my writing chops extended to teenagers. There would have been a horse's head in my bed if I'd even attempted to give him something. So about 4 or 5 years later, we're in Florida, and he was doing a movie, and I was singing at the Fountain Blue.
Oh, sure.
And he took me to dinner, and he said, "Kid," that was my nickname. We all had nicknames. Dean was Dino, and Sammy was Smokey the Bear, on and on. So he said, "I'm quitting show business, and I'm doing one more album with Costa." And Costa was my A&R director who found me and made it all possible. And I introduced him to Sinatra. He said, "I'm doing one more album, and that's it. I'm getting out of here." He said, "You never wrote me a song." So I went back to New York, where I was living at the time, and I just couldn't get out of my head Frank Sinatra, a guy quitting. And I started writing around midnight, big thunderstorm outside, and it started to flow. I sat there metaphorically and started writing it as if he were writing it. And around 5, 6 in the morning, I finished it. I called him in Vegas. He was doing his last Caesar's Palace show. And I flew out, gave it to him, and looked at me and said, "I like it, kid." And about 2, 3 months later, get a phone call from Los Angeles. I'm in New York. And the operator said, "Frank Sinatra calling from the Sunset Sound Recording." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I take the call." He says, "Kid, listen to this." And he put the telephone up to speaker. And I heard it for the first time right there, and I started crying. I was so happy. I just started crying, man. So it's gone on. I don't know how. You get inspired, and it's affected so many lives. I get letters from weddings to funerals to whatever. And, it's just one of those nights where it all came together,
Paul, the reason I brought up the Tonight Show theme song and My Way, and you just sealed the deal saying what you said. You started crying. When I watched you as a young teenager, young boy, whatever, I always thought, boy, he's such a nice guy. Being a huge star that he is, you always comported yourself very, very well. You never were impressed with yourself, too much impressed with yourself. You were just a really good guest on the talk shows, I thought.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's when you start out like I did, and I had a great family. My father and mother, may they rest. I was Canadian, which is a different environment up there, and they just pounded it into me. They wanted me to be a lawyer. They didn't have any idea that this could happen. And, everyone has to realize back in the 50s, pop music was in its infancy stage. And I was this kid running around, trying to tell people, I've got some songs. They'd laugh at me. There was none of this idol shows and all of that. And I even broke into the backstage at a rock concert where Fats Domino and Chuck Berry were working.
God.
So I liked it, and I sang my song to Chuck Berry. He said, "Kids, the worst song I've heard." So I learned rejection, and the irony of it was about a year or two later, I'm on the bill with Chuck Berry, singing Diana, which in the I was 56. I went down during my Easter vacation. I had some money from my paper route, and I just believed, and one thing led to another, and recorded it in May, and all of a sudden by August I'm on American Bandstand. And just what I learned from the inception, at that time was, like my father told me when I left, he just gave me a Bible and he said, now you just be nice to everybody, but don't trust anybody.
Good advice.
And I realized that as I got in this business, which, was not the most favorable because you have all sorts of kinds and what have you, in behavior, I just said, you know what, if I wanted it this badly and I got it, I'm just going to keep my nose clean and deal with it the best I can because, the fallacy is that, people shouldn't look up to any of us because we didn't start sophisticated. Most people didn't in life. You get lucky and you're traveling on this journey just trying to deal with that kind of ridiculous success. I mean, here I was at 15, 16, earning $300 a week.
Oh.
I mean, $300. I mean, move it around, it was $3 a week with my paper route, right?
Right.
So it really hits you. And then I became the youngest to work Vegas with the Rat Pack, and I'm going, and Mafia and all this stuff. And I was taught to behave. So, I internally was that way anyway, because you just get a lot more being nice and appreciating what you got. It's just the way I deal with it. People make their choices and live or die by it.
Mr. Anka, my name's Ralph Basham. I'm on the podcast with Tom. And my wife had a brush with fame with you years ago.
Ooh.
And and this is it's a good Italian group in Chicago with Steve Lombardo and Sweetwater.
Oh, my buddies! I love that restaurant.
And then now it's Gibson's, yeah. And they I'm sure that you'll be dropping in when you're there. But they. She ran. Her name was Lindsay Kolb at the time, and she ran with Marilyn Lang and Gina Tomasano, that group. Where she was one of the gals that were there, sort of in the shadows, but she remembers seeing you and visiting with you. She left a great memory for her. So thank you.
Well, hello. I'm sure she's still around. God, hopefully.
She is.
Yes.
That was my hangout. Chicago was the key record breaking city, that New York, Cleveland, etc. And I'll be back there, on the October tour in November. And it's always been very special, for me. And I've been going to Lombardo's restaurants for years, and they have a great product and they're good people. And they were my partners when I put up the first discotheque in Las Vegas called Jubilation.
Oh.
And they really do a great job. And hello out there to everybody, yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I remember Lindsay talking about Jubilation and the involvement that he had there, and that was very interesting. His other friend was first name Bob, who
Bob Marsico.
Bob Martico. He ended up finally marrying Marilyn Lang, and they live in Vegas now.
That's
so
right.
I'm sure you
she
know.
was a Playboy bunny, wasn't she? Playboy?
She was Playmate of the Year.
Oh.
Yeah, Playmate of the Year, yeah.
Yeah,
Bob married her, and I haven't spoken to him in a few years, but Steve I've been very close to for many, many years.
Yeah, it's a great bunch of people in Chicago.
Oh, the best. They're absolutely best. Steve is salt of the earth guy, for sure.
In all honesty, I like to tell the truth, Paul. I was never Playmate of the Year. I'm very upset.
There's still time.
Well, you have something to look forward to, don't you?
That's right. It's right down
You'll
the line.
be Playmate of the Year if you want it.
Yeah.
Now.
That's exactly it. Paul,
even now, I think it's a wider door for you.
That's exactly right. Paul, the great thing about just sitting here talking to Paul Anka for me, and my wife is on the show, our son Andy and our daughter Alex, and the connection that I make just talking to Paul Anka with my children here, my wife here. My mother who would be 101 tomorrow if she were still alive, but she's not. She thought you were God. I will tell you that, pal. But I suppose a lot of women did.
Well, listen, I'm not a god, but I appreciate, look, I respect those that have, just lived that long, full life because they're doing something right.
Yeah.
I've always been inspired by them because, I've got a 16-year-old and I got a life that I'm living that I appreciate, so I do everything I can to stay alive as long as I can. And, the mothers of the world, and you guys that have them for a long time are very fortunate. I lost mine when I was 18 years old.
Oh,
so
God.
That's always been a tough one for me. But there's nobody like them. You've got to realize, as most of us do, their purpose in life, along with, hopefully having a life of their own, it's just amazing. So my hat's off to all the mothers in the world and to you guys and women that have them.
No question. Paul, how do you take it internally when people like Olivia Newton-John, Michael Bublé, Andrea Bocelli, Il Divo, they line up to work with you? That's quite an honor, don't you? Those are some of the greatest singers ever born.
Well, no doubt. That's your assessment of their talent. There's a lot of talented people out there, even this new demographic that's out there. I look at it from a professional side and a human side in that, when you can find, people in your business that want to work with you and do, and I've been, blessed for years. I mean, from way back from Buddy Holly to Connie Francis through the years, Michael Jackson, and I've worked with a lot of them on my last album a few years ago, duets album. So when it's Olivia, an amazing human being with such a challenge with where she is health-wise today, and known her for years to, see how she, in the midst of everything, said, yeah, I want to do it. And, Michael, who was there in the beginning, co-produced his first album and stayed a good friend of his for years. And what can I tell you about Bocelli? So when they come forward, like the last album had Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton.
Right.
It's great, it's a warm feeling because it just kind of compounds your feelings about there's other people doing great things, like hopefully you are, and you're not the only one, and the nuance that each of them bring that is so unique. It's great to be a part of something that you can't do. I can't sound like Willie. I can't certainly sound like Dolly, but Tom Jones, who I've worked with, with She's a Lady, did very well for us. I was inspired because great artist, great voice. So it goes on and on in terms of the relationship that you have with other people in your business. It's kind of a form of respect that goes back and forth from all of us.
Was it your idea to put Michael Bublé and Andrea Bocelli are doing My Way? Are you on that recording with them, I hope?
Oh, yes. When I decided to do Making Memories, with COVID, the good and the bad side of it, I was just writing like crazy. And I knew I had to do My Way because of the anniversary of the song. And I said, well, I'm not ready to listen to myself singing it for 4.5 minutes. So I tell you, where it's kind of emanated was a couple of summers ago. I was in Europe, and I've known Bocelli. I met him, years ago. And he came out, and we spent time, he and his wonderful family, and he invited us to his restaurant in Forte de Marme. So we go, and there's a group of us at dinner, and there must have been 125 people, maybe less, in the restaurant. So in the midst of the meal, they wheeled a piano out in the middle of the restaurant. And he gets up, he goes over, because he's a piano player. He started in bars in Italy. He starts singing My Way. He said, hey, but uncle, come over to sing a song with me. Now, you got a piano, Bocelli, people are eating dinner. And I went over, and I started singing My Way with them, right? So obviously I'm saying, wow, this is something. And all these people, they would have paid $1,000 for the meal just to get this. They had no idea it was coming.
Right.
And we finished it. It was just, a great moment. And when, fade out, fade in, when I started with My Way, thinking of it for the album, I said, I got to get Andre on here, and called him in Italy. Well, of course, they were socked down with 19. And he said, yeah, send over the music I do for you. So he did it. He sends it back. Now, Bublé calls because I keep in touch with him. His family was up from Argentina. Come on to dinner because we know, as I said, we stayed in touch. We get together. And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, well, wait a minute, if I got two, maybe I can get three of us. I said, Michael, I'm doing da-da-da-da-da. He said, yeah, I'm in. So that's the way it happens in our business. So within a week or two, I had the two guys committed. Michael went in the midst of his album and did it. And here I am in the midst of these two great voices, these great artists. And you got My Way now with Bublé, Bocelli, and Anka. So, hey, how lucky can you get, and how fortunate do you feel, right?
Exactly.
Paul, your producer said you have to move on. I cannot tell you what an honor it was to talk to you today. Paul Anka, ladies and gentlemen. Very quick Canadian story. Canadian Paul Anka, Canadian Michael Bublé was very, very excited. Yeah. I talked to Michael Bublé on the phone one time, and he said, hey, Tom, I heard something. I said, what's that? And he goes, you know Canadian hockey legend Lou Nanny? I said, yeah, he's a good friend. He acted like I was talking about God. Mm-hmm. The Canadian hockey players, they love that. Bublé loves them.
Isn't that so? Well, I'm a hockey nut. I mean, I helped bring the Senators,
right
at Toronto, part of that. I apologize to everyone because they never about it. But they're, we were brought up like that. I mean, my backyard was, I hose it down, and I was playing hockey every winter, and it's been a part of our lives. And I was going through all my photos because they're doing a documentary of my life. We're going to start it in a couple of months. And,
great.
And I was looking, and I got a picture of Bobby Hull, Gordie Howe, and Wayne Gretzky, and me in one photo.
Ooh, I like it.
I said, man, this has got to be worth something. So and Gretzky's an old friend of mine, but we love our hockey, and I mean, you guys do pretty well there. You've got your moments.
We have our moments. Mr. Anka, I hope when you're in town, I'll get a chance to come back and say hello. And just, again, what an honor talking to you, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I insist on it. We'll look you up. You come back and see me for sure.
We'll get it done, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Paul Anka, legendary. This guy wrote My Way. He wrote the theme for The Tonight Show.
He wrote a lot. Many songs.
We just should have said, the list would be far easier to get through. Who haven't you worked with?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What have you written for?
Speaking of famous musicians, Charlie Watts, Rolling Stones drummer, died today.
Oh, you're kidding.
I heard he was
80
sick.
years old, yep.
Same age as Paul Anka.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that while Paul was on.
Pretty astonishing that a Rolling Stone made it to 80.
Yeah, honestly, it's true.
It's remarkable.
God.
Yeah.
Let's just
that's
fold
awful.
up the show.
Yeah.
I
hate that.
When did the Rolling Stones break?
1963,
yeah.
I think.
Was it that long ago?
64, maybe.
Yeah, it was long ago.
First appearance in America.
I hate
Mike
that.
Douglas show.
Yeah, the Mike Douglas
That's
show.
what
There you
happens
go.
when people start turning 80 and 85, 90,
That's what happens.
That is what happens.
Well, it is
Ixnay,
true.
they telling Bop that...
Ixnay on
You got a while before you're 80.
Oh, God, yeah. I was watching the kids this weekend, and we got into, in 10 years from now, I said, Fawny will be almost driving a car.
Yep.
She'll have her learner's permit.
Yep.
And what did they say to me? In 10 years, you'll probably be dead.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, then.
statistically
Probably.
untrue, but
I have to tell you, honestly, God.
Thanks, kids.
Last week I saw this on the docket. Paul Anka was going to originally be on last week. And I saw it and went, there is no way we're going to have Paul Anka on the show. Paul Anka's a legend. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. Nicest man in the world, from what I understand. Everybody who ever knew him.
Listen to him,
Yeah, just a great guy. And I said, there's no way. Well, and then all of a sudden he rebooks. And I went, Paul Anka took the time to rebook on the podcast. He goes, yeah, he wants to come on your podcast. To talk to Paul Anka, seriously, it makes me miss my mother right now horribly. Because she loved Paul Anka, man.
Yeah.
Put your head on my shoulder. She thought, although hearing Toots sing Put Your Head on My Shoulder with that deep voice, her, Put your head on my shoulder.
And she couldn't really
she
carry a
wasn't-
tune in a bag either.
no.
Poor thing.
No, she could not.
I've always
song.
wondered
Go
that. About people that can't carry a tune, do they hear the
I don't-
music?
yeah,
the way
I
it's
do
coming
wonder.
out of their head, and then
Tone
why
deaf.
would you like music?
Tone deaf people don't know, I don't think.
Well, but it's like when they listen to music, do they hear what we hear?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah, but then they
Or do they
can't
just like
find...
hear a vague
Well, that's
concept
true.
of music?
Yeah,
Or
that's
does
a good idea.
somehow some
That-
filter in the brain just
Yeah, I
makes it
don't
come
know.
out
that's
funny?
a
I don't know.
metaphysical argument.
It is.
That metaphysical
It's like,
argument.
when I see blue, do you see blue kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, we'll never know.
But now I want to ask about that. If I say that's blue and you say that's blue, I might not be seeing the same color you do.
That's exactly what I
That's
mean.
the point.
Yeah.
It may be you're maybe interpreting it as entirely. You may be seeing it as red, whereas I'm seeing it.
Yep.
But we have a common understanding that you've been trained that when you see that color's that. And that's so it's an education process for your mind. That's what always fascinates me about music is that some songs move me just unbelievably. Yet other people don't even want to listen to them.
Yep.
And there's other music, the other people will listen to. Oh my God, they're crying, and they go, "Ooh, man, get that off!" It's like fingers on a chalkboard.
Might not be hearing the same thing. You never know.
Where you're hearing it, but it stimulates your brain in different ways. So,
All right, we got to take a break here, but some people do understand this, and other people go, oh, whatever. But if you had told me when I was, 11, 12 years old, listen, to Put Your Head on My Shoulder, someday Paul Anka's going to want to come on your show. I'm like, bullshit. It's not going to happen. Honest to God, what a thrill that was for me. Really was.
Truly, what a thrill. What an incredible person.
So Catherine and I, 2 years ago, got to sit about 10 feet away from Tony Bennett, watching him. Remember how he was moving around? He was like dancing and singing, and the guy's 92 years old.
I know, and he
at the
was
time.
on his feet the entire show.
The
Which
whole show.
I thought the show would be maybe a half an hour.
Yeah.
I think it was a good hour and a half, and he was standing and dancing.
I couldn't do that.
No, but honest to God, to look back at my childhood and realize now, all these years, all these people, I never, ever thought I'd be able to talk to Paul Anka. Toots is probably up in heaven going, my son talked to Paul Anka.
Gabriel, my son just talked to Paul.
Yeah, right. What? That's more bad news?
No, Watts had been diagnosed with throat cancer in 2004.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was,
wow.
right.
17 years with throat cancer? That's
then
actually a pretty good run.
It went into remission, and he went and toured for another 2 years after
but-
that.
Or more.
Yeah.
I can ask the doc this one. We saw a movie last night called Twilight. Paul Newman, who's one of the greatest actors ever born, no question. I'd never seen it before. I'd never even heard of it before, but Kath and I watched it last night. How about this cast? You got Paul Newman, you got Gene Hackman, you got James Garner, Susan Sarandon, you got Reese Witherspoon.
Reese Witherspoon turned up in this movie. She was
played
like a baby.
17-year-old.
What?
Wow.
90,
Oh my God.
96,
98.
98.
Oh,
I was
jeez.
like, was she around that long ago?
But
I guess so.
Emmett Walsh is in
She
the
was
very
nudie,
beginning. He
too.
tries to kill Paul Newman in the opening scenes, and Newman ends up killing him. And and Stockard Channing was in it. The acting was spectacular. It's so much better than You know how today the acting is like Paul Newman would do this. Yeah, what I'll probably do is I'll walk down the street and I'll just go to that one door and we'll take care of it. Now it's like, I'll take a walk down the street, and when I get to it's all over the top.
Well,
now.
everything's mugging for the camera.
It is all
Yes.
mugging
Yeah.
now. You're absolutely
So
right.
they think they're on stage rather than in front of a
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, it's stage acting
It's
is
way
what
more
it is.
in what
It's
people
like
look like
it's
than
back
how
to
they act.
what was it, the transatlantic accent era? Where everyone was talking like this in a
Yes.
completely
Wow.
made-up accent.
Not
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
90s.
That's exactly right.
90s? That was like the 50s.
No,
Yeah.
no, I said this movie's in the 90s.
Oh,
That's the British accent you pick up on a transatlantic flight to
exactly.
London.
It was actually
Yeah,
a
exactly.
made-up accent designed to sound like a mixture between an American accent and a British accent because it makes it sound more like, highfalutin.
It does sound highfalutin.
Highfalutin.
So on the way out, one of the reasons I brought up Paul Newman was Paul Newman died in 2008 of lung cancer.
Yeah.
Okay? Died of lung cancer in 2008. He quit smoking in 1986.
Nice. Didn't he? He smoked a ton in this movie.
He actually didn't inhale, though. Susan
Could have been
Sarandon did
pantomimed.
inhale. She did inhale, but
And
he
Gene
didn't
Hackman
inhale.
smoked. Everybody
Yeah,
smoked, right?
they did. They all,
Oh, yeah.
all my the people.
Yeah, we couldn't believe it. It's like, you got a light, you got a light, you got a light, you got a light.
Is Timmy going to join us
Wow.
after the break, Andy?
What? Oh,
Tim
I
Lemons?
haven't heard. I don't No, I don't
Where the
think
hell is
so.
Lammers?
Well, he's
I
busy
mean, I
these
think he
days.
has the StreamYard link, so he's just gonna like drop in if so.
Oh,
Okay.
If he
Well,
feels
again,
like it.
I cannot tell you how cool that was to talk to Paul
What
Anka.
yeah, he
Just-
seemed like such a down-to-earth guy.
that's what I loved him so much on the Joey Bishop show, the Tonight Show, whatever show. He was just a very, very successful, but a very nice man. So hopefully he comes to that. You guys want to come to the show when he comes to town?
I looked at his concert schedule.
He's
Not coming yet?
I didn't see it in Minneapolis. West Palm Beach, however.
West Palm.
When?
February.
February 16th, we can go see him.
Where's he going to be? He's going to be at Kravis Center?
Yep.
Oh!
We
there
can
you
walk
go.
to it.
Paul, I'm coming to see you, Pally. I'm coming to see you. We'll take a break, be right back with the family. Tom here, and I'm talking with Brad Huckle and Mike Bilski of North American Banking Company. We've talked before about how working with a community bank like North American Banking Company can benefit business owners. Do you have an example you could share with our listener?
Our customers at Homeco Insulation in Blaine have been banking with a big bank for many years, but suddenly their calls weren't getting returned and their banker was unresponsive to their business needs.
You can imagine their frustration. They had a successful business, wanted to expand, and their bank cut them off.
They were ready to move on from their big bank. When they were referred to us, we knew they wanted to work with a community bank that would be responsive and would take the time to understand their business and its needs.
That sounds like a perfect fit. I know it can always reach out and not only talk to an actual person, but I'm talking to an experienced lender.
They've told us the same thing, Tommy.
Look, I know Brad and Mike, and I trust them with my banking. My whole family does. So why not bank with my banker, North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Listen up, drivers. Are you doing the same thing every day, driving the same hours, making the same money? Well, stop and listen. Priority Courier Experts has a wide range of driving opportunities available right now. So if you're a professional driver or determined to become one, we can show you the benefits of partnering with Priority. Hey, Forrest, can you tell the good drivers of the Twin Cities which vehicles Priority has available in their lease-to-own program?
Well, I'd really like my friend Bubba to help me with this. Forrest, we have dock trucks, tractor-trailer trucks, flatbed trucks, curtain side dock trucks, flatbed Moffett trucks, Ford Transit and Transit Connect Vans trucks. Hey, Forrest, shouldn't we have a shrimp truck? Bubba, I think you're onto something there.
There you have it. Every kind of vehicle you could imagine, all doing same-day deliveries in town. Call Priority right now and we'll get you on the road. Priority Courier Experts. Every time you call us, we deliver.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Two things. To have Paul Anka on, what a magnificent day that was for me to be able to talk to Paul Anka. I've always admired that man because he's such a nice man. Everybody that you talk to when I was at Capitol Records or whatever, Paul Anka, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. You don't believe it because he's such a massive star.
Yeah.
You know, guy's written every great song ever. But to talk to Paul Anka and to lose Charlie Watts in the same day is kind of a bitch for me, I got to be honest with you.
I know that is kind of weird, isn't
Bittersweet day.
Charlie Watts, another very, very nice man. Very calm and very quiet. Kind of stayed to himself. Didn't get involved in all the brouhaha with, with Mick and Keith Richards and all those people. Charlie just played the drums and went home. Charlie Watts has died at the age of 80, which makes me very, very sad. Right?
Yes, it's too bad. Well, the guys that just play the drums and go home are the
Yeah. Mick will probably live forever.
Yeah.
Remember what Tim Palenti told us, that he was over in India in some temple, and as he was going up the stairs, Mick and his girlfriend or wife were coming down the stairs, and Mick's wife was about a foot taller than
he liked a very tall supermodel type.
Yeah.
So,
he liked him tall.
Like a foot taller than Mick. Here he comes down the stairway.
Yeah, and he was out. Someone told me a story in Antigua or one of the islands in the Caribbean. They were there at some beach bar and they're having a drink, and there Mick, another table. They sat down, visited with him a little bit, and just like a regular kind of person there.
I'm surprised Alex hasn't run into him because she's run into everybody. Sylvester Stallone.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
Stallone. Oh God, there's a picture of Charlie Watts just popped up on my screen. He did not look healthy in this picture.
No.
Unfortunately.
Well, he's had cancer for a long time. That's a pretty good run with.
Yeah. 5-year survival rate for throat cancer. I mean, depending on the stage, of course, but it's generally not 17 years.
Yeah, talk about the worst thing you can get as a singer. I mean, a musician.
As a drummer?
Or an actor like Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, Fauci, speaking of Italians, Fauci has predicted that if everybody gets vaccinated in America,
not going to happen.
We could be back to normal by April.
They've been promising that
That's 8 months
every
from now.
week for the past year.
I know.
We just need 2 weeks of wearing masks. We just need 2 more weeks of the shutdown.
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
If
Remember
we
that.
can get 50%, if we can get 75%,
Yeah.
if we could get 100%,
Yeah.
if we could, if you could wear a mask again, if you could.
If you could wear 2 masks, that
I
would be
thought
great.
Fauci just apologized for some
being
misspeak or
wrong.
something, or he said something that he actually was called out on.
I'd like to know how much money he has made from all of this.
He's the highest paid government employee.
He is the highest paid.
We're talking about other kinds of income.
Yes, we are.
Not the kind you would necessarily pay income tax on. Honorarium donations into Swiss bank accounts. I mean. We wanted you to have this car. It just shows up in your driveway with a, title to you. Oh, where'd this come from? Wow, what a nice gift.
By your friends at Moderna.
Yeah, or it could be as simple as he's going to write a book and he's going to make $20 million off of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or he's made $20 million already.
I'm sure he has.
I can't even imagine.
They just released a new list of places you do not want to go on vacation because of COVID, since we're talking about COVID anyway.
Florida.
A volcano.
No, nowhere.
Alabama.
Everywhere in the
Mariana
United States is fine. There's nowhere. It's not in the United States.
Okay.
Oh.
It's pretty much 5 or 6 places I'd never go anyway. So it doesn't make any
Aren't even
difference.
on the travel list. Let's go.
Okay, you ready?
Central African Republic.
Well, St. Martin. I'd probably go to St. Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I'd go there. I've been to the Bahamas. I did not care for the Bahamian people. They were not friendly. Remember how?
What'd you say about Bohemian people?
Remember how crab-ass the Bahamians were when we were down there?
Yeah.
Guy called good. Honest to God, I'm just walking down the street, and this is a podcast, so I can tell you. He's sitting in a doorway and he's drinking from a bagged bottle. Right, bottle's in a bag. He's drinking from it, and he's staring at me, and he just will not stop staring at me. So I try to engage, just walk. I keep walking past. I'm not going to stop, but I walk past him. I go, "How you doing?" And he goes, "Fuck you, motherfucker."
With 2 kids. We had
2 kids with us.
I've been to the Bahamas.
I don't recall this.
No, they weren't on the Bahamas.
I don't.
Yeah.
They weren't.
No, I don't think so.
No,
we went
they
to the
were not.
Dominican Republic.
No.
Yeah.
Then we stopped at the Bahamas on that Disney cruise, that horrible Disney
did we?
cruise.
No,
That's why we were there.
This was a
Big Red
different one,
Boat?
though, I think, wasn't it?
No, that wasn't me then, because I didn't go to the
Oh, no,
Bahamas,
so that
but
must have been
only
the big
once.
red boat, the little red boat.
Little Red Boat, yeah.
Big
Remember
red
that?
boat.
Big Red Boat?
We had to
Red
walk to the other end of the island to go to a restaurant, which was horrendous.
Yeah, only our vacation could turn into a complete shit show when we get home. The big red boat was a disaster.
A little red
I
boat.
remember
Little red boat was a
nothing about it.
disaster.
It was terrible.
It was awful. We
I
had
remember-
terrible seas.
I remember hiding under a table to stay away from Goofy. I did not want to speak to
You didn't want to
Goofy.
speak to Goofy.
I don't
gotta
remember
intimidating.
1 second of that trip.
You don't
Like
remember
most
it
trips,
all?
I remember like little fragments.
This is why you shouldn't spend a lot of money on taking your kids places.
That is very true.
Leave them home with
They're
a
not going to
babysitter.
remember it.
Until
But yeah,
we were
the
like,
Little Red Boat is one of the few vacations that we've taken that I remember absolutely nothing.
Well, we got home, and I had filled out a comment card, and I didn't
Oh,
I didn't
remember
I
that?
didn't rip them to shreds. But Tom on the air at the time had told them that story about that guy
Yeah.
yelling
Yeah.
at our family.
which Disney has no control over.
No, but also there was some curdled milk
Gross.
at the
Yum.
breakfast thing, and there was really bad seas, and they didn't they didn't warn anybody about that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
go take your Dramamine.
And?
Kids were barfing
There
in
was
the
vomit everywhere.
elevators.
There was vomit
It was.
everywhere.
I mean, it was bad. We should not have been out there in that ship. We
Well-
should have been. They should have harbored us
Vomit.
for sure.
It
It
is-
was puke-tastic.
It is the Big Red Boat, by the way.
It
I
is.
was-
It was a
I
little red
said
boat.
it was the big red boat.
It's the Big Red Boat.
It is
Anyway.
now.
No,
And
it
then there
always
was curdled milk, there was vomiting, there was all kinds of bad
Are you
things
sure the
happening.
curdled milk wasn't vomit?
Could have been vomit.
Somebody drank some milk.
Anyway, so we talked about that. He talked about that on the air, and some employee of Disney Cruise Lines
Disgruntled.
called, I think, CJ.
Yeah, she did.
And bitched about what you said on the air because it was in contradiction to the comment card, which I did not know could be, like read publicly.
She wasn't supposed to do that.
And CJ accused you of being racist because you didn't like going to where brown people are
Of
because the
course,
guy called
of
you a
course.
mother or whatever.
Yeah.
And it turned into a giant thing.
I still want to know the fact that I was the first morning show in America to hire not one but two black men to be on the show. How
And
could
it
I be
didn't
racist?
matter that he was black. He called you
No,
a name. That was the
exactly.
story.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fact that he had brown skin that was the story.
It has not. I grew up with all kinds of. I don't give a rat's ass what your skin color is.
And you didn't say that. Wait a second. You didn't say that he was black.
No, I did not. No,
So
I
he
didn't.
wasn't. He was white.
You never.
Yep, that's true. It was their microaggression against us.
I was walking in the Bahamas past an Asian guy,
Yes.
But it's not racist at all. It has no racing implications at all. It's
Because
just
I
some
was
guy.
called a name with my two children walking around.
I also mentioned this on the air. Every meal we ate, the server hit me up for money.
Yeah,
here's
that's
here's
very
a picture
common
of
on
my
the islands.
family. They're at home.
Yep.
They don't have any money. I'm
Super
like, oh,
common.
God.
Oh, that was on the cruise ship?
On the cruise ship, yeah. So we should mention the reason that the seas were so choppy. Remember that those three storms that came together up in New England?
Oh, yeah.
What was the name?
Perfect storm.
The perfect storm. Well, the southern one passed right over our boat to get up north. That was one of those three storms.
I've never heard of a cruise ship not going into harbor when seas are like that, ever.
It was horrible.
No, they're out in
like-
seas.
Well, if
frequently.
they can't get anywhere,
Yeah.
but we were right by the islands. They could have found some place to go.
So Bahamas, I'm not going back. Haiti, you can have. No, thank you. Morocco, nope. Kosovo, no, thank you. Lebanon, nope. I would have loved to go on to Lebanon back in the day, but not now.
Not now.
So those top five, forget it. You can have them. And then St. Martin, I probably would go there, maybe.
So that's where they're having the huge outbreaks?
Yep, CDC's travel advisories list for COVID-19 just received an update with 6 nations moving up to level 4 status, which means you should not go there. These countries you shouldn't be heading to right now ended up in the very high risk category, means that these destinations have more than 500 new COVID cases per 100,000 residents.
Why aren't these small islands and small areas, why aren't they like all vaccinated?
Yeah, why aren't they?
Oh, because what I was
not that hard to
told
get
at
them-
Turks and Caicos, there's a large part of the population that are going to treat this with traditional beliefs and traditional medicines. And they are not going to get immunized. Well, before the immunization came out, half of the Germans said they were not going to get immunized. They just said it. No, we're not going to get immunized. Half of them. So,
But I think that they changed all that. I think they mandated it in Germany.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
that's,
I haven't heard anything.
you start taking away freedom of choice. That's not cool. And
Okay.
They're doing it all over the place.
New York did it. San
Say New
Francisco
York.
did it.
well, yeah, they're kind of
They're working on it.
they're coercing people
Well,
in
yeah.
certain
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
Which could be argued to be the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Well, that's the narrative. It's like make it so horrible for them that they
Yeah.
can't leave their house that they will do it.
Oh, I mean, I know people that didn't want to get it, but they just got it because they didn't want to be the only person at their office wearing a mask, or the only, like, oh, I'm one of 3 people at my office that has to wear a mask still. And now everybody's back to wearing masks.
Well, and then
So it's
if you're the
Yeah.
only one wearing a mask, then everybody thinks that
Yeah,
you're a
you're an
QAnon
anti-vax.
crazy person.
QAnon, yeah, exactly.
It has nothing to do with choice.
Okay, full reveal. I didn't tell you guys this, but I did tell it on the air. I'm surprised nobody told you about it.
Oh, God.
Now, understand that I was kind of a prick to the guy. I admit that right up front.
Okay, at least we're...
And he was probably 50, 60 pounds overweight, something like that. So what I said to him, but he just would not leave me alone. I went to one of our grocery stores that we love to go to, right? And I walk up, and this guy walks up to me and goes, "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" Like that. Not like, why aren't you wearing a mask? Why aren't you wearing a mask? I said, what? He goes, you think you know, leadership, you offer a better example. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, you should be wearing a mask, show some good positive leadership to the people that it's the thing to do. I said, well, I've been vaccinated. He goes, that doesn't matter. You should be wearing a mask so other people wear a mask. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, I'm just telling. And he got meaner.
When was this?
What was that?
When was this?
A couple days ago.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated.
Well,
Technically,
whatever.
it doesn't.
I'm just saying. Then he got angrier and angrier and angrier, and finally I'd had enough. And again, let me remind you, I know that I was a prick to him, but he kept pushing. And he was about 50, 60 pounds overweight. I mean, I just went through that, so I understand. So I finally said, okay, pal, let me ask you a question. What do you think is more dangerous to your health, my breath or the fact that you weigh 800 pounds?
Okay.
I mean, you're not wrong.
He did not like that at all. I will tell you that.
He didn't say, listen, you fat fuck.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I should have said.
You are a perfect gentleman, and you exercise extreme restraint.
Perfect gentleman, thank you.
Perfect gentleman, and extreme restraint. I admire you.
He just wouldn't. He got angrier and angrier and angrier. I was like, would you just leave me alone?
And it does matter that you're immunized.
Well, no, not for spreading
because then you
it.
don't get. Well, I don't care if I spread it, because if I spread it to someone who's immunized, they're probably not going to get sick. It's not going to be that bad a thing.
Yeah, but I'm just saying
No, it does make a difference.
No, I'm saying for the point of like, I'm immunized, I can't spread it to people, because that's what a lot of people used to think. It's not true anymore.
I'm not wearing the mask because I'm not going to necessarily get sick. I can still get sick. You can get bad. You can die from it. But the chances are so small, have reduced so much. That's why you're immunized, so you don't get sick.
It matters to him that he's vaccinated. It matters to my father that he's vaccinated because he has a less. Yes,
yeah, but doesn't protect other people from him.
Spreading it is what I meant.
That's why I got immunized.
Yeah, for you. But a lot of people, like to do.
I'm responsible for myself.
I 100% agree with you.
A lot of people don't want to admit that it is a decision for you.
If you're immunized, then you have a choice of either being immunized or choosing to wear an N95 mask so you're protected. Those are two choices.
Yeah.
And they're healthy choices. Both are fine. There's nothing wrong with either of those choices.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
I agree.
And then, but if you choose not to wear a mask and have not been immunized, well, then you're at risk for getting sick.
Yeah.
That's all you need
Absolutely.
to know.
I agree. But so many people think.
What?
Ringo Starr tweeted out, God bless Charlie Watts. We're going to miss you. Man, peace and love to the family.
Yeah, Ringo's a great guy, really.
Ringo.
He's another one of those guys. Had him on the KQ Morning Show. He's in London. We're in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I'm talking to him. All of a sudden, the line goes dead. But 2 minutes later, the producer goes, Tom, Ringo Starr's on the request line. I said, what? He, in London, called and got the request line number so he could finish the interview. Called into the request line from London. That's the kind of guy Ringo Starr is right there.
That's why he's always been my favorite Beatle.
And I got to be honest with you. Again, looking back to when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, if you had told me that Ringo Starr would go out of his way to make sure he could talk to me, I'd have gone, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
It's what a blessing. One quick question for you before we move on. What is Havana syndrome? I never even heard of it.
Oh my gosh, I heard about this.
Yeah, it's some.
I heard about this. What is it?
Fake thing, I think.
Oh, it's fake?
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure.
I just read something like
Kamala
2
Harris's
weeks ago.
Kamala Harris's plane had to sit on the ground for 3 hours because somebody had Havana syndrome. I've never even heard of it. So maybe, you know what, we'll take our break, come back, and maybe we'll find. Maybe Kristen Burt will know what Havana syndrome is.
She might.
We'll be back.